Prince song. And I went along with that for a while and did some gigs, and then I went to an art course and got into another band through this art course and played some more gigs, covers mostly. And then, then one day when I got back, this art course happened every summer, and the last one I was asked by the bartender, and he asked me to come and audition for his band, and I went along and did an audition, got in, and that was kind of the lineup of Travis. But that was what became Travis. He had Andy, the guitarist, Neil, the drummer, and myself, and two brothers who later were out of the band, and then Dougie came in about 5 years after that. But around about this time I went to art school as well, and around about this time I had a real opening of culture, because I'd kind of lived in me and my mum, and no big brothers or sisters. I think bands around the time that really got me going was In Excess, REM, U2, Simple Minds. Nothing before. Everything happened then. I almost didn't know like bands. There were really cool bands before then. But when I went to art school, I started listening to Pink Floyd. Piper at the Gates of Dawn we'd do covers of Bike on Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and we'd sit on the steps of the art school jamming, and people of check this song, check that song. So there was a real nice melting pot at art school, and so I went along with art school for a few years, 2 years, and the band, and eventually the band kind of won out. And around about this time that's when I started to think, being in a band, I could actually maybe try and get a record deal.
Could take it seriously.
Yeah, and I was around about 18 or so, or 19, maybe even 20.
What about Driftwood? When did you write this song?
Well, Driftwood came. We went to record. We did Good Feeling, first album, and we started recording what would become The Man Who, in France with Mike Hedges, and we got up to a certain point. Then Nigel became involved, Nigel Godrich, and we retracked a lot of songs with him, and it all started to sound pretty cool. And it was Christmas time, 1998, and Ian and Colin, our managers, came round to my house, and they were all sat me down, and they're all, listen, the album's, everyone's a little bit concerned with me, because the album's a bit dark, it's a bit down, it's a bit depressing. And I was like, oh no, and he goes, you need a couple more up-tempo songs for the record. So they went off, and I had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do it. And so I just sat down, and I got knuckled down, and I wrote lyrics all over the walls, like on bits of paper. Just the whole room was covered in bits of yellow notepad paper with lyrics, and I started reading lots of poetry. I remember reading, being really massively inspired by The Thought Fox with Ted Hughes' poem, amazing poem about writing, the nature of writing something, and getting right into that, and listening to everything, listening to anything I could hear. But out of it all, one day Andy Dunlop, our guitarist, came round, and we were sitting downstairs in our little tiny flat, and he came, and before he'd arrived, I'd been washing the dishes, and apropos of nothing, I just sung out the first line of the chorus of Driftwood, totally out of the blue, like as you do when you're just like, doo-doo-doo. And I ran upstairs and recorded it on a mini cassette thing, this new digital thing. I didn't quite know how it worked, but I didn't realise that I hadn't unpaused it. I thought I was recording, but when I paused it, I unpaused it, and basically just recorded myself walking away from the tape machine downstairs. And I listened to it the next day thinking, I remember I wrote something, I recorded something, went up and listened to it, and I could just hear me walking off, and I'm like,
oh no.
Shit. And I knew it was good. I was like, it was a really good melody, and I couldn't remember it, and it was just silence and me downstairs making noise and nothing. And I'm going, how can I'm sure I recorded this, but I hadn't. And just 30 seconds before the end of the tape, I can hear myself walking back up the stairs. And I'm sort of listening, going, oh. And I think in the tape I've forgotten something and got to the top of the stairs and turned and gone back down. And just as I go back down, just before the tape ends, I'd sung the line that I sung when I was washing the dishes again. And I could just hear it on the end of the tape, and the tape ended. And I thought, that's it. And I wrote the song that day, and it finished itself. And
okay,
I'll sing it. And then I'll talk about the lyrics I played for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay.